I have no idea how to do this, so let's just kick it off. Hello! My name is Tobias Kalliokulju and I'm a musician and a composer and I produce sounds and music for games. This video is about a script that I made, or basically 5 scripts that can be downloaded and used to set up an audio manager to help you manage all your sounds and music for your Godot game. And they contain a lot of good functionality to basically, make you hit the ground running and not spend a lot of time setting up basic functionality. The base is actually from Arimus video, How I Do Sound Effects in Godot. By the way, shout out, you should really check out this channel, it's really good. I downloaded that script to play around with, and as a composer I thought I was just gonna add a couple of music functions to it, but I kind of
in Romania and ended up spending the last 2 weeks just adding functions after functions.
And I got to the point where I thought that I really wanted to make a video about it and also to actually just release the scripts for anyone to use if they are useful for anyone else, which I do believe they are. This is not an attempt at a manager that kind of solves all audio problems. In fact, any system that you build will have big benefits and limitations to specific needs, and it won't fit all those needs. This is more meant to be a stable foundation for you to build upon if you have more specific game audio needs. This video is also, except for a few musical demonstrations I already posted on my non-existent YouTube channel, my first a little bit more ambitious attempt at making a video, so I hope you will find it useful. I have no idea how to do this, so I will just kind of roll with it. And before we begin, I just wanted to say shortly, I have a couple of words about who I am and why I find this important and relevant. And if you couldn't care less about that, obviously just skip to the demonstration. I've spent the last years finishing my master's in music production at the Royal College of Music in Stockholm. And as a part of that process, I got really interested in implementation and how such a big part of the creative process it has on specifically composing adaptive game music. And I'm sure I'm gonna make a video about my master thesis and the results of that at some point, but it's not a part of the scope of this video. While I have no programming background myself, the whole process kind of set me down a path to learn to code and to be a more present part of implementing my own music and sounds in the engine myself independently. I started with C# and Unity, mainly with Fmod as a audio middleware, and I also dabbled with Unreal and Metasounds for a project. But I also kept coming back for Godot in different regards, in different projects, also with my own teaching. And I really like Godot, both as an engine and as an open source concept. It definitely has its challenges, and I think audio might be one of the bigger overlooked things, as it often is in game development processes, unfortunately. But since I started using it a couple of years ago, a lot has happened and it's not in even the same engine anymore. So I really have a positive look on the future for the engine. And I mean, Brackis even came back from the dead to make videos about it. So that says something, I guess. While I would encourage every single developer that wants a good sounding game to actually use an audio middleware for its audio, there might be reasons for why that might not be an option for a project. Either you come in late, or for some different reasons you might not be able to use Fmod, for instance. And while I know there are good supported plugins for implementing Fmod with Godot, they will, at least for now, be a bit unofficial and always feel a little bit unsafe for the next patch. Maybe they stop being supported and then you're kind of in a weird position. And just for tons of various reasons, using a middleware for a Godot project might not be an option. Hence why I kind of sought out to at least have a better starting point, like have a base script that kind of contains a little bit of standard functionality that kind of at least mitigates some of the time loss of not using Fmod, for instance, and at least some of the basic functionality that an audio middleware would have right from the gate. Once again, this is not meant to work for all audio needs. It simply doesn't, and I'm sure more experienced programmers will look at the code and be scratching their heads and screaming at the screens for some silly coding mistakes I've done, but it works as I intended, and at least it makes it quicker for me to set up and focus on the asset creating part instead of spending time to like just program basic functionality. The scripts are available on GitHub, links below of course, and let's demonstrate how to set it up and how to use some of the functionality. Let's go. Okay, firstly let's showcase how you set things up, of course. You go to the GitHub and you there are instructions here, of course, but I'm gonna show you everything. You first download the scripts, of course. Once you have the scripts downloaded, of course, extract the zip file, and you will find all the scripts here. There are a total of 5 scripts, and let's make a Godot project and add them. Let's call it audiomanager test. Why not? And let's add all the scripts. The audio managers, 2D and 3D, audio manager helper, music settings, and sound effect settings. The audio manager 2D and 3D hold the functionality for actually playing the audio in the game from wherever you want. And depending on if your scene is 2D or 3D, you choose the one you need. If your game has both managers can be used independently. If you add both scripts to the global, I will show you in a second. And they make use of the same sound effect and music setting enum list. If we create a 2D scene, for instance, here, and let's call it Audio Manager. So let's make a new folder just to keep things tidy. Let's put the scripts there. And let's add the 2D Manager script to the node we just created. And now we should be able to actually manage and set up our sound effects in the inspector. But we have one more thing to do before we do that. We need to add this as a global to the project so we can actually access it no matter what scene we have actually loaded. Let's save the audio manager scene. Go to project settings, and go to globals. And here we can go to the scenes, audio manager, and add that as a global. Okay, before we actually start setting up the sounds and music here, we need to add one thing to the music settings and the sound effect settings scripts. And these only need to actually exist in the project, but there are one thing we need here. And these scripts kind of hold the settings for the sounds that we are going to actually edit in the inspector, but we need to add the sound effect types here. So I just took a sound from a folder randomly and I found like a bow shot. So I'm gonna add that here. And that's actually it for the setup here. Let's do the same for the music settings. Go into the music settings and we add a new track here. Let's call it like level 1 or something. There are unassigned tracks and unassigned sounds here, and it's by design because if you forget to actually change the type in the inspector, you will get a warning that you haven't assigned the right a type to a sound. So it helps to not make that mistake. Also, just a tip, if you can, try not to change the list of sounds you have here. If you do, the ordering will be wrong, and you have to go through the inspector manually to actually make sure that the right type is assigned to the right sound. So let's set a sound up. I have just a folder of a couple of random sounds I have here. Let's add them to the project. So let's try to add a sound effect. We go here, we add an element, and we assign a sound effect. So here we have all the settings we need to set up, and I'll quickly go through them just so that we know what to do. Let's start with just adding a sound so we actually have something. Let's add the bow shot, and I'll drag it to the sound effects. Because I added a functionality that you actually can preview toggle, and I know that you can do this in the normal audio stream players, but we'll get back to that. So here we can actually preview the sounds, and this preview will actually take in all the settings that we have. So if we have pitch randomness or volume randomness, it will be displayed here, so you can actually hear what the sound sounds like. The limit keeps track of how many instances of this sound can exist at any point, with 0 meaning there is no limit. This is actually also a remnant from Armus video and script, and he gives the example of like gathering a lot of XP particles. If you collect like 1 or 2, it's fine, but if you collect like 50, it's going to be like additively loud and not sound very good. So if you limit the sound to like 4, for instance, when it tries to play a 5th, it doesn't. And when the sound is finished, it will remove itself and open the limit again. Then we have the type, and if you have unassigned sound chosen, you will get a warning when you try to play the game. I won't do it now because we have to set up a game scene, but let's choose the bowshot sound, because then the settings we set here will actually be for this sound specifically. We have a normal volume that sets the dB of your played sound and a volume randomness. So if we set like -6 and set a volume randomness, it will have a little bit of volume randomness to it. And I might add this here. If you want to have like more volume randomness control, you can go to the sound effect settings and find like volume randomness. And here you have the settings. It goes from 0 to 5. So if you want more, like 10, you just put that there, and then it will update in the inspector, so you can have a higher setting for yourself. You have to save and just make sure to go back, and then you can set it to 10. I'll set it back for now. The pitch scale is at what pitch the sound will be played. If you have a higher pitch, the sound will be higher pitched. And if you have a lower pitch, the sound will have a lower pitch, obviously. And this will affect the play rate, so it's good to have a like decent spread on the pitch randomness. If you have a lot, it can actually have a very big variation on how fast the sound plays. So you tweak this to your liking for the sounds you have. I actually skipped over the sound effect type here, or the sound effect stream, I should say. This makes use of all the different streams and stream types. So if you would have, like, for instance, 3 different bow shots, you can choose the audio stream randomizer instead and set up the streams here and add 3 bow shot randomizations. And this will actually, be represented in the preview toggle, and also, choose different samples at random. For now, I'm just gonna choose the normal audio stream and put this here. So here you can put the audio bus, and this is important because you need a good audio bus structure to actually be able to mix your game properly. It defaults to master because in the audio settings there is only one master bus. But if we add let's add 3 buses, and we call one SFX, we call one music, and let's call this, I don't know, bow shots. Just to demonstrate, we can actually set this to be bow shots. And the nice thing about having a lot of buses is that we can actually route them through each other. So bow shots is a SFX, so I will route that through the SFX, and that itself goes to the master. So if I have like 100 sounds, but I have like a couple of weapon sounds, I can actually like tweak the weapon sounds itself without like affecting all the other SFX bus. So I mean, the more buses, the better. Maybe not always, but as a general principle, this is like making the actual mixing of your game so much easier. And this is a string, so be careful of the spelling, but if you spell it wrong and it tries to assign it to a bus that's not available, it will give you a warning, so you can go back and actually check what you named the bus. And you can actually see here when I play the bow shot, we get a visual representation of the bus systems, which is really nice. So if I add an effect here, let's say just a reverb, this will be applied to the bow shots, which goes to SFX and to the master. And this is great if you want to add effects to just a specific category of sounds, but not, all the SFX. That's it for the basic settings. These basic settings are the same for all sound effects. Then we have settings for basically positional sounds. And there are both 2D and 3D settings here, but they will only be applied. So if you have a 2D positional audio manager, for instance, only these settings will be applied, and vice versa. I will just quickly go through them. I will not go into detail, but the max distance determines how far away you can hear a sound from, and it's depicted in pixels. So the higher value, the further the distance you can hear the sound, and the lower the value, the shorter the distance, of course. The attenuation, speaking of settings that are normally in the audio stream players themselves, if I add an audio stream player 2D here, a lot of these settings are derived from the normal settings. But for instance, the attenuation is actually depicted as a curve, and I'm sure that there are like smart programming people that know how to add this to the audio manager. But here you can actually see a curve on your attenuation, and if you have a higher value, the sound will drop slower, and if you have a lower value, the sound will drop faster. Just so you know, because this is not represented in this curves, so here you only have the attenuation as a value in that sense. Let's delete that. The panning strength affects how big the panning effect is on the sound. So if you have like a higher number, you will have a more dramatic, shift from left to right when you pass a sound. And if you have a lower value, it will kind of negate the stereo effect a little bit and make it a little bit smoother. So you can affect like how nauseous your sound will make you, basically. For the 3D settings, we can set the attenuation model, and I really won't go into depth here, but it basically affects the shape and how the attenuation, how the sound is dropped. You have the unit size 3D, which is basically representing how big the sound is. So if you have a big sound, if you have a bigger value, it should be heard from farther away, of course. And this works in tandem with the max distance 3D, which is basically the same as the 2D one, but here represented in meters. So if you have a big sound and a big max different distance, it will be heard from a long distance. And these kind of work in tandem to affect the actual distance that you can hear the sound from. You also have a max dB3D, which is basically a kind of limiter that limits how loud the sound can be. And it won't go over that limit, basically. Two important things left. We have a debug print, which there are a debug print both for the music and the sound effects. And if you enable this, you will get a lot of like helpful debug print to the console. When the sound is played, at what position, volume, good things to actually understand why is my sound not playing the way I want. For the music, there are like if you start a track, if you change it to a different clip, if you change it to a different volume of a layer, helpful debug prints. And these are also set up in the music and sound effect settings and triggered in the audiomanager code. So if you want to tweak some of that, go to the settings and see what you find there. And if you want to add something, of course. We also have the name, which is really nice, because if I add like 4 effects here, everyone will be called sound effect, which is not very helpful when you have like 100 sounds all called sound effect. So if I assign this a name, this is only for the inspector bow shot. It will actually update here, and which is really nice because you want to find the sounds quickly. Let's set up the music track that we also added. The basic settings are not as detailed here. We have the preview toggle, we have the track type, of course, so we will assign the level 1. We have the audio stream, we have the volume dB, which is only the volume that the music will be played at, and we have the bus name. So let's just add music to this. And let's add level 1 as the name, so it's easy to find. And let's add a stream type. And for demonstration purposes, let's add the audio stream interactive, which is a really nice, decently recent feature that was added, where you can do a little bit more advanced adaptive audio things. Also, shout out to the audio stream synchronized. We will show a demo of that in a little bit. So let's add 2 clips. Let's add the loop 1 and the loop 2. Make sure to set up your BPM to have this work properly. I will, and also if it's a loop, you enable that, and make sure to re-import that. Also for this, with the beat count, you can actually set how far the loop will be played. So if you have like a loop point here, or you just don't want to use the whole file, you can actually manually set that. But for now, I'm just going to use the whole file. Let's just lower the volume a little bit. As it is now, it loops 1 bar of music. And we can actually do a lot of fancy stuff, of course, but let's just add a transition here. When we go from the first loop to the second loop, we want a transition. We don't want it to just skip directly to the next loop, because we want it to be musical and nice. We want it to jump to the clip start of the next clip, and we don't want to fade because these are mixed as seamless loop files. Let's say that we want the music to change on the next bar. So we can preview this. We have 1, and when I click this, it will try to transition, but it will wait for the next 1 in the music. I click now. And it goes on to the next music. Let's do that one more time. So if I click directly after the loop now, it will wait and it will jump, and we're here now. And that way we can do a lot of nice things, and you can make this basically how complex you want, of course, and you can use this advanced preview to actually showcase that. I was thinking about adding that to the synchronized, but if you have different vertically layered music tracks, you can actually just showcase them here and like drag the volumes and stuff like that. So I felt that wasn't really necessary. We also have the debug print, and we also have the name, but we also already talked about those. So let's actually just try to play these. We save and we add just a node. Let's just add, say that this is called game. We save the scene and we play it, because then we can set this scene to the current one. Not much of a game as of now, but let's add a script to it. There we go. Let's just delete the process because we don't need it. So to actually use these sounds, you go to audiomanager, and here you get access to all the different methods that are in the audio manager script. But let's just say play audio. And then we need to assign sound effect. We need to go to sound effect type and look for the types. And here we find the bow shot. There we go. When we play our scene, we should actually hear a bow shot now. Amazing. What a game. Let's add the music to this as well. So we go to the same, basically. Audio, I can't spell. Audio manager. Play music. We go to music track. We go to track type. And we go to... We should find our level 1 here. Just play the game again. Amazing. And obviously you can add a lot of... I mean, this is where your work starts, basically. If you want to switch to the clip that we set up in the music track, obviously you can add a function to that, and you could call audio manager change music to clip. And I'll go through the methods in 1 second in the demonstration. So let's wait for that. So I talked a little bit about how every system you build have limitations. One of the limitations is for this is that you actually, for instance, can't see a visual representation of your sound and how far it will play. If we add a 3D scene, for instance, and we add an audio stream player 3D, this will actually give us a visual representation of like how far the sound will be played. And maybe you want to add, you know, some of the settings that actually aren't in the sound effect settings, like emission angle, for instance. You can choose at what angle the sound will be played. These are very helpful functions, and maybe you want to set this up for like an ambience bed or something like that. You can actually add this audio stream player to the audio manager and manage it from there. So you can actually have both audio stream players being created at runtime and also audio stream players being physical notes, so to speak. The only thing we need to do is actually add the audio manager helper script to the audio stream player, because this has some settings that will automatically add this audio stream player to the 3D scene in runtime. Since I don't have a 3D scene set up right now, let's just add audio stream play 2D. Let's add the audio manager helper script. And here you can set the player name. So let's call it like ambience. It auto detects the manager type that you have if you have a 2D or 3D from the audio stream player type. Let's just assign it to the 2D one for safety. And here it's important because when I set this up, I always call them audio manager 2D and 3D to separate them because I have both in my setup. We called our audio manager because that makes sense if we only have one audio manager. So let's change that name here so it actually represents the audio manager name we have in the setting. So at runtime, when this node is created, it will auto assign itself to a list in the audio manager. And we can actually access this from the script. So you should be able to actually access it from, if you just want to play it, audio manager, get managed player, and we get managed player. We look for the ambience that we set up, and we just call play. Let's test it out. Oh, we actually didn't assign any sound to this. So let's assign a white noise. Why not? And we actually play the white noise there. Say that you also want to affect this node, or maybe you want to, I don't know, change the pitch or change any settings. You can actually make it a variable on ready var ambience player, and we set this to audio manager, get managed player, ambience. Now we should be able to both, ambience player play. It plays the white noise. But we should also be able to like set settings for it. So maybe ambience player, pitch, scale. And set that to 2, for instance, before we play. It's hard to hear with white noise. Let's set it maybe to 0.2 instead. It's white noise. This is such a stupid idea. But, we hear it that we set a very low pitch scale now. And that's the power of the managed player script. It's very helpful, and you can actually get a reference to this from like anywhere because it goes through the audio manager. Yeah. So that's actually how you set things up. It's very easy. It's very scalable, I think. And obviously there are, this is just the beginning, and the rest is up to you on how you want to build your systems further. But I actually made a little demonstration just to showcase some of the functions, so you actually know what functions there are in the audio manager. So let's demonstrate some functions, and just to be very, very clear, I spent like the least amount possible time to making things pretty. I just made very, very quick icons, and I kind of also choose files on random, but it just demonstrates some of the functions. This is not my life's work in any regards. I also have inconsistencies in naming things. I think I called this a tank and then switched that to a vehicle sound. But you get the point. So let's quickly check out the Audio Manager 2D. There are way too much code here to go through. If you want to go into depth, just download the scripts and you can actually go through them yourself. I've tried adding a lot of helpful comments to see a little bit about what they actually do, but I also left this list here to just get a quick overview. And if you don't want this, obviously just, remove them and you can have a little bit more space in the beginning. Also, Audio Manager 3D and 2D are basically exactly the same, but with, adjustments for 3D and 2D. So let's read through the list here and see a demonstration of it. We have sound effects, we have music, and we have the manage external players, and also a helper method. So the sound effects are divided into one-shots and looping. The one-shots, these are basically the big remnant from the Armus script. I just changed the name to play instead of create audio, if you are familiar with his script. So here you can basically play an audio, and you can play an audio at location. And the only thing you need to assign is location. I just created these so if I play this one, it's just a simple one-shot repeating with a timer. And you can hear it being positional. So if I go to the right, it's to the right. And if I go to the left, it's to the right. You get it. I just made one with a little bit of pitch and volume randomization, and also different variations. So it chooses from 3 different chop sounds. Also positional, So that's the one-shot ones, and it's very efficient on playing, just play and forget sounds, and they clear themselves up and they check their limit. Maybe we can show that now. If I go to the audio manager and actually debug the right chops, for instance. So we do the debug print for the chopping sound, the right one. We get helpful information here, and if you think it's too much, you can always, you know, tweak it in the debug settings. But here we can see the limit count. I have set it to you know, unlimited, but it's when they are done, they clear themselves up, and you can see what bus they are assigned to, what volume they are played at, you know, everything. That could be really helpful to understand what's actually going wrong if something is not working as you intend. Let's push that off. So for the sound effect looping, we have a couple of different methods. Just in general, to just get an overview before we get into it, you can basically play a loop, and then you can stop a loop separately if you want to. Yeah, you know, if you have a loop and it needs to stop at a specific point, you can stop a loop. And in general, what you do is you kind of play a loop, and then it will be stored into an array of, you know, looping types or looping sounds. And then you can specify what loop you want to stop. So you can be like, I have an ambience and I have a fireplace, and I specify that I want to stop the fireplace but not the ambience, you know. This has also functionality for playing loops with a start clip and an end clip. So maybe you have a loop that, you know, you want to, it's not just bah, but you might have like a starting wah. This is my voice magic. This can be very helpful and kind of needed if you want like smooth sounding loops. You know, for the most basic implementation, you have like a looping sound that you can just start and stop. I have a fireplace here, and I can start and stop that, and it's, you know, very simple. But I also have some sounds here. I'll just quickly demonstrate them and then talk about them. It has a little bit of a rev up and a rev down if I start it and if I stop it. So for instance, if we go to the tank start, that's not a tank anymore, but you know, never mind. I have used the audio stream player interactive, which is, you know, normally meant for music, but you can actually make, you know, sound effects with this. So I have a start sound, I have a loop, main loop sound, and I have an end sound. So what the code, if you set a start clip, is basically gonna do, it's gonna start the first clip and it's directly gonna use the method change to the next clip. But it will wait for the clip end. So if you have a long start or if you have a short start, it should work either way. So you play the loop, it plays the start clip, and then it directly sets it to transition to the main loop. And I also added a little fade, so it, you know, should overlap a little bit. You can design that with or without if you want to. And if we go from the main loop to an end clip, I just set the transition to be immediate, like it just pops there, and it transitions to the end's clip start, and it also fades itself out a little bit. So for this tank, for instance, or vehicle, you know, never mind. You have a start clip. It goes directly to the loop clip, and then it just goes away. And the good thing about it all having the same audio stream player is that it's very seamless, and it follows the position of the vehicle. And if I press again, it will stop. And you know, you can design the sounds however you want. This was the most convenient system to do this, I found. I spent a lot of time trying to design a different system, but this was more robust and easier to set up and uses play loop instead of like a tons of separate functions. Also have a bottle roll from a project we did. Shout out to Valle, who designed the sound for that project. It rolls away, and then when you stop, it has a short little If you don't have a start clip, if you just have a loop that you just want to play, you just choose the sound effect type as we did in the setup, and you set the start clip to false. If you set it to true, it will do all this, change to clip magic behind the scenes. If you push in the same sound effect type for the stop loop, you will stop that specified loop. And if you do the change loop to clip, you can actually use this final clip setting that the bottle and the vehicle had. You specify the loop type that you have. You specify what part of the audio stream player interactive you want to change to. So for instance, for the tank, it would be 2 as the end clip. And you say true, it has a final clip, because maybe you have a loop that has 2 parts, but it's not the final clip. Then you can just change to that part of the loop. If it's the last one, it will clean itself up afterwards with some behind-the-scenes magic. There is also a version of this for the audio stream player synchronized. If you have a loop that's layered and you want to be able to affect or add a layer or take away a layer of the sound, it basically takes in the loop type that you have set up in the play loop. You specify what layer you want to change. So I have a layered loop here with a synchronized, and you specify the stream. So in this case, it would be the number 1, because it goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. You specify what end dB you want, what volume you want the layer you are affecting to end up at, and also how long it will fade there. If you want it to be instant, or if you want there to be a 2 seconds fade. I have a demo for this as well. I have a portal shimmer loop thing, and if I press E, I add in a part of the sound. I can stop them. That's kind of it for the sound effects and the looping, and it should cover a lot of the basic functionality. Obviously, if you want to do something else, you can always the external audio stream player thing, where you set up an audio stream player that's... I have a forest ambience here, for instance, which I set up, and it plays on scene start, and I can, stop it, I can play it. And this is a, specific audio stream player where I can, tweak the settings here. I can, do everything I want to do with a normal audio stream player. So if the normal audio manager creating audio stream players doesn't fit, then you can always add a specific audio stream player. Maybe this is a good point to also mention that you have a stop all audio function here that stops all the looping and music sounds for a scene transition or something like that. As of now, it only takes in music fade time because it takes in some functions I already had. But if you want to also fade looping sounds out smoothly, you can just add that too. You can look up the stop music function to see how the fade time is set up. So for the music, we have a lot of functions, but they kind of do what you think they would. We have play music, which specifies what track you want to play, and also if you want to fade that track in. We have stop music, where you can specify what track you want to stop, and if you want to stop it directly or with a fade time. We have stop all music. Maybe you would have different music playing simultaneously. I don't really see why, but you can then stop all music with fade time or not. Then it just takes in all the active music tracks. I added a function that's called change to track. So maybe you're playing, the music for your level 1 and then you want to change to the music of level 2. Then you specify the old track type. You specify how long you want to fade that out. You can always have that 0 instant if you want to. You specify what new track you want to start and if you want to fade that in. So it basically uses play music and stop music in one function. We have also get at active music, so you can get a reference to an active music track by type if you specify the music track. Then we have advanced settings, and it's basically the same as we talked about before. You have change music to clip, which uses the audio stream player interactive. And then you specify what music track you want to change a clip on. And then you specify what clip index you want to change to. So if you have a start of the loop of the music track and then you want to go to the main loop, for instance, you can specify that. And this follows the transitions rule that you set up in the audio stream interactive in the inspector, as we showcased before when we set it up. You can do all kinds of fancy stuff with that as well. You can add transitions, you can add, fade in, fade outs. You can make like crossfades between two tracks if you set them up that way. So there are a lot of things that you can do with that. And this change music layer volume makes use of the audio stream player synchronized, of course. So it plays different layers at the same time. Then you can like fade music layers in. So maybe you can fade in instrument or something else after a while. You specify what track you want to change the layer on. You specify what layer you want to change. What end dB you want it to have and how long it will take to get there. So let's showcase this. I have one audio stream player interactive track and one synchronized track. Let's do the interactive one first. And basically, as you see here, it uses the like horizontal or the vertical composition techniques. So let's play this one, and it has a drum loop, a little bit similar to the setup we made. And when I change to clip, it changes there at the next bar I pressed. You get a very like seamless music transition. I can fade this and fade it out over time. If I start that again, I was a little bit too quick. I added, safety warnings that you can't start the same track before you stop and stuff like that. We can stop define track with no fade. This basically uses the same function as the fade, but just with 0 fade time. We also have a vertical track. It's and then we can add like strings if I press. And if I were to, play both, I can stop all tracks if I want to. Also, just shout out to the game Troop vs. Troop that this music comes from. There's a demo on Steam now available. So just to showcase that you can actually, use these functions from a lot of places. The player in the 2D scene, for instance, had a small little footstep and also a jump sound. And this actually uses the animation player. So on the animation, we call a function at a specific frame or a specific moment. And if we go into the player script, I just made a function that's called play footstep sounds, and I just trigger that when the player is on the floor. Obviously, if you want an advanced player movement script, you need more than this, but as a base and a demonstration, this works fine. And since this is a one-shot, it just expects position because you just take in the player position at the time and you just play an audio at that position, which works fine usually for one-shots. But if we look at the vehicle or the tank that was moving, this needs to, constantly update the position to the tank. So this usually works with self instead, because you want to, and since it's also a play loop at position, it usually expects self. That should work fine if you trigger the sound on the tank node or in a tank script. You really you add the audio stream player as a child to the tank, and then it updates the position automatically. There are most definitely cases where you don't want self, or it doesn't work, or when you cue free, for instance. That's a whole different part, but for a bass this works perfectly fine. If we go ahead and play the tank here, go to the remote to actually follow what's happening. Here on the start tank you actually can see the audio stream player being created with all the settings that we set up, and since it's a child of the tank, it uses the tank's position at all times. Where did the tank go? The tank moved away. Oh no! There we go. That was close. If you need to add more functionality to it to adapt it, it's just to go ahead and do that. Let's just mention also the warn on missing sound assignment. If you have this checked on, which I think you should, if you have a track or a sound that still has the unassigned music track, for instance, if I never set this sound up in the inspector, if I then play the scene, let's play the 2D scene, I get an error here, or a warning. You have music tracks that are still set to unassigned music track, and we can also see here at index 2. So we go to 2, and right, I never set this sound up, so I need to, choose something else. So that's kind of it. I just made a really quick, I have both managers in this project, and I have a 3D scene and I have a 2D scene, and I kind of set up the same functionality for 3D as well. So I can, start a tank, I can roll the bottle. And everything is positional and nice. I can start the shopping. I can start a fireplace. I can start the layered loop. The music functions are exactly the same, so I really didn't add them here as well. I can, in this case, trigger a one-shot with manager helper. So for this I have a specified separate one-shot audio stream player. I've added it to the audio managers, and when I play the game, I can trigger it with code. I also have the ambience audio stream player here with I just made a visual representation here with the emission angle cone, and this is also a separate audio stream player that I added to the audio manager. So if you want to use the emission angle or the, I think I also for this I could use the visual representation of max distance if I wanted to also, so I can see the lines of how far the sound will play. So if I go in here, now we can't hear the ambience loop, but if we get close we can hear it. And also the emission angle, if I go to the side it gets muffled. I can add functionality to start and stop external audio stream players. And I can, if I play the ambience, I play the fireplace, I can use the stop all audio to stop all looping sounds. Cool! So even though you have audiomanager 3D and audiomanager 2D and they use the same sound effect setting enum types, you kind of need to set them up separately for the 3D and the 2D manager. So even if this uses shop sound 1 and the audiomanager 2D also uses shop sound 1, you kind of want them to have different settings anyway. So you don't have to add a new chop sound enum, but you have to like set a new chop sound up for the 3D one. That's also nice because maybe you don't have the exact same of list of sounds for the 3D and 2D scene. You probably don't. So it's good that you can actually have special content for different scenes, of course. I think I showed kind of all the things. And obviously, if there are any questions, just hit me up in the comments or write me. And I'll try to answer as good as I can. So, that's it for the actual demonstrations. Greetings from a very depressing Sweden February weather. If anyone at all finds this video and likes it, of course, please leave a comment, like it. I have plans to do some more audio related content in the future. So we'll see. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, good for you. Bye bye.